Okay, so now I'm going to talk about how I use media technologies in the construction, research, planning and evaluation stages of my production. So the first one I'm going to talk about is my planning and my research. I'm going to talk about three things: my online resources, YouTube and digital film. The online resources was actually something which was very important. So main websites that we use, for example, Box Office Mojo, IMDb, places like that. They played a huge part as we could look at community-based sites. So, for example, IMDb is something that's run by the community. People can post their comments and they can get upvoted or downvoted. The upvoted comments, obviously being the popular opinion, will go to the top and you'll see those first. And then you can kind of see the less popular comments at the bottom. So this is really important as it gives us an insight into what people actually want. A lot of sites as well will come up with the person's name, their location and their age, so we can filter those out to just be looking at people within our age range and our target audience. YouTube now, that is something which has been very successful over the past decade. There's millions and millions of people that will look at the site every day. We used it in the planning stage in two main ways. The first one was looking at comments under recent trailers for science fiction films. Through this we could look at what people thought, so you could write, I don't think that they did this certain thing very well, I don't think that they made the title big enough, this wasn't clear to me. And by looking at that we could kind of gauge what people were doing right, what people were doing wrong, and then implement that into our trailer. We also looked at the trailers that other people had made. So we looked at a variety. We looked at ones that we read had an A grade. So looking at this, we could decide, right, there's key features such as the music, the actors, the lighting, stuff like that that we'd need to put in place. And it kind of gave us an expectation of the quality that we'd need to produce. But at the same time, we looked at some kind of C grade ones and thought, right, you could tell from the comments what they'd done wrong. For example, the sound wasn't quite perfect or the lighting in some scenes wasn't great, so we knew exactly what we needed to put in and what to avoid. So YouTube, it's actually an example of O'Reilly's Web 2.0. So this is how you can collaborate and contribute to other people's work. So although the videos obviously can't be directly edited by the viewer, their comments can help shape future content, which is what it did for us. For example, last year we had a few comments on our video of what we could do better, whether this was in person or actual comments on YouTube, and this made it a lot more easy and clear to think about, right, this year this is what we need to do and this is how we're going to perfect it. Also, digital film played a huge role. Now it's something that sounds really basic and it's not really contributed to anything in particular, it's more of an overall subject. So for example, the film that I believe probably had the most influence on my trailer and the narrative that it took will be the Butterfly Effect. So this film is something that I watched on Now TV, which is an online streaming service, and obviously it wouldn't quite be possible to watch this film as easily as I did without this online streaming service, which wouldn't be possible without digital video. So for example, if I wanted to see this film without digital video, I'd have to go and find it somewhere in a shop, or I'd have to search for it. Obviously without digital video, it's not as widely available. So this kind of gave me inspiration for my film, so I believe it's important to talk about. The construction of my film took place with two main pieces of technology, which would be the camera, which uses digital video, as I spoke about before, and the editing software. So firstly, there's an image of me using the camera and the tripod, just to show how we've progressed and we know exactly what we're doing. You can tell that I'm confident with it, happy to record whatever I need to record from different angles. So here you can see that I'm doing a high angle shot looking down the stairs. This is something that perhaps people would struggle with, as they wouldn't know how to get exactly what they wanted in shot, exactly how to focus. Obviously the camera might be focusing at the top of the stairs, whereas the action's happening at the bottom. So with digital video, it's really easy to use the camera. It's actually got a little playback device on the side, so you can see what you're recording. You can mess about, change, edit the focus, the lighting, hue and saturation, things like that. So to be specific, the camera that we use is the Canon HF200. This is a camera that shoots in 720, which is a little bit outdated. We do have newer cameras at the school which came in just as we were filming, which do actually shoot in 1080, but we decided to stick to this one as the camera is something that we are really familiar with. We've used it throughout GCSE and AS, so and with our preliminary tasks as well. So we decided we're more comfortable with the camera, and also we'd have to have gone back and reshot quite a few things, even the hospital scenes, and that would have been an absolute nightmare to be able to go and do again. So things like balancing the hue and saturation are things that you need to be confident with the camera to do. If you do, for example, go into the settings and change some of the wrong things, it can corrupt your video. So things like that you've got to watch out for, and you do have to be quite confident with the camera to be able to do some of the stuff. And then also the editing software. What we used was Final Cut Express on the Macs. This is something that we use slightly at GCSE and all of the way through our AS and our preliminary tasks. So we are quite confident. However, this year we have kind of took it to a new level. There are a lot of things that we did last year that we've implemented. So changing a few things like the colour, editing the sound out. There is always a slight humming whenever you record anything on a camera that's not quite top quality. So we've had to learn how to edit to get this out. So two main things that I'll talk about with Final Cut Express that we learned how to do this year. The first one is the colour correction tool. So we've actually added a tint into all of the shots which are set in the past. And this creates a contrast between what's in the past, what's in the past, and what's in the present. This is important to the audience as throughout especially the montage, it switches back between the two, and without knowing which is which, it makes it quite difficult for the viewer to understand. So adding this tint in does add a new level of understanding, and it does look really good. It adds kind of like a grainy effect to it, so it does look a little bit older, even though it's not set far in the past. It is a little bit older, and the audience can tell that. And the second one that we've used is the